Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Tifosi Time, where you're going to see three brothers talk about Italian soccer, probably a lot of Juventus, general soccer news, and when something interesting comes up, and probably just watch us make a general fool of ourselves. So, welcome aboard. We have no idea what we're doing. Hopefully, this is recording. My name is Frank, and I'll kick it up to Dan. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Dan. I just want to give a shout out to Dom, our fourth brother, who's a producer and made that beautiful graphic. Jesus, can we get some color into that thing?
Oh boy. Hey, my name's Chris. I don't know. I have 600 hours of Football Manager under my belt. That thing.
I didn't know we were sharing resumes. That is impressive. Football Manager does count for sure. We could always change this to a Football Manager podcast if this doesn't work out. So keep that on the back burner. All right, guys. So what we thought we would do for this first episode. So let's give you some context. So we're actually recording on, I believe today's the 19th. So it's about 9:30 a.m. New York time. And the 2021 season starts in a couple hours here of Seria A, which is what we intend to talk about because, well, hell, we do it all the time anyway, so we figured we might as well make a show. And we haven't done a lot of prep. You're probably going to hear some things that we wish we haven't said when you go to the end of the season and say, wow, I can't believe they made that prediction, but that's fine. So what we're going to do is give a quick recap of last year, just some general thoughts of teams going into the season. Some predictions that we'll make along the way. Chris and Dan are even though they don't like to admit it, are pretty good on betting on Serie A, so you might get some low-key bet ideas through the course of the show. But of course, that's up to you. I don't want to gamble anyone else's money. But that's kind of a loose rundown of what we'll get. So why don't we start off, fellas, with the thoughts on last year's season, as crazy it was, and how it finished off. Some general thoughts. Dan, why don't you start us off? What were your thoughts on last year's season?
Yeah, so last year's season was a little crazy. Obviously, with the break in the middle of it, so it was kind of like two seasons. We saw the top four shake out the way it's ended the last 9 years of Juventus winning it all, but it was a lot harder than what it has been in the past. And then we saw Inter complaining every week about the schedule and, really choking at the end. Lazio did really well in the beginning of the season. I think they were probably affected the most out of the long break. They really couldn't put it together in the second half of the season, which is different from the previous season when they started off really bad and then did really well the second half of the season. They just can't seem to put a full season together. And then Atalanta is just, everyone's darling. Everyone loves to watch them, and really the most fun team to watch. And they put it together again and did really well. And, probably will do the same again this season.
Yeah, I think all of that is fair for sure. What about you, Chris?
I don't know. I guess I can echo what he just said. I'll just say the teams that I was impressed with. I thought Sassuolo, I think they're a team on the rise. I think they're going to be good this year. And I love their coach. And I think Fiorentina is going to be good this year as well. And I love the way Milan finished up that season with Abramovich. I thought they did really well. And I think they're looking at a good season too.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think, listen, for me, guys, it's the same old story, right? When it comes to Serie A in the last, pretty much greater part of a decade, it's the DNA of Juventus, right? That championship DNA rising to the top. You got the wannabes in recent years, Inter. They can make all the noise in the world. They can have Conte complaining about, trying to go to $100 restaurant a night with only having a $10 budget and whatever other thing he wants to complain about. But in the end, the winning DNA always kind of wins out. To me, honestly, though, being a lifelong Juventus fan from the days of, RAI waiting, in Brooklyn in Grandma and Grandpa's basement, right, for that to come on Channel 13 and watching the one game you would get a week. the part that really stands out to me is Juventus knows how to win, and that really pulls them through. To me, the team I'm most impressed with, though, I have to say, was Atalanta. I was on the Atalanta bandwagon the last few years. I personally think, just being honest, yeah, Juventus has the brand, they have the money, they bought Ronaldo, they have the pedigree. But, when you look at how organizations run, Atalanta is the one I'm impressed with, right? From Gasparini, how they can sell their best players every year, make money, bring in new players, develop them, quadruple the value, sell them, and just keep doing it like a factory. I mean, that to me, I got to give them more credit. Although we have 9 Scudetti in a row from Juventus, honestly, I've been saying this now for 2 years. I've been like a whining Juventus fan, right? Like a lot of us, that I think they're doing a lot of sacrificing to try to get that Champions League with Ronaldo and the moves they're making, forgetting about the future, right? And I think we've seen that with their transfer market the last few years. It's sell the guys that someone will take, scramble to get rid of guys you don't want that are overpaid, and we'll talk more about that later. But I don't think it's necessarily being run the best way right now. But to me, it was more the same from Serie A last year. And if I was most impressed, it was definitely with Atalanta in terms of how they played last year. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, Juventus is definitely, they are what they are. They have the best team. They've had it for years. They also have the biggest wild card of the entire league in their coach, Pirlo. So I don't know, when we talk about next, predictions for next season, or when we go into that, but Pirlo, he's got his resume as a player, but has never done anything as a coach. Hired as the under-23 team manager, and then not even a week later promoted to the head coach.
It was 9 days. 9 days later.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. He has a lot to prove. He could either be fantastic or he could be sacked before Christmas. It's really going to be interesting to see. Like, I hate when the TV cameras show the coaches on the sideline. Like, I don't care about the coach. Tomorrow on Sunday, I want to see Pirlo on the sideline. I just want to see what he does. I want to see if his hands are in his pockets, like you see in every single picture that he takes that Juventus posts on their Twitter, on their Instagram. I want to see how he reacts to certain situations, if he'll have a fire when he needs to have a fire, if he makes the right choices. Like, he's the biggest wild card for the entire season. He's going to be the most interesting story of the entire season. Hands down. There's not going to be every single week we'll be talking about him.
Yeah, I think teams coming out at halftime, you might see a little bit more, like how they react to how they're playing. So, like, if they come out flat, it's like, this guy doesn't know how to talk to them, So we'll see, things like that.
No, I agree with that. I mean, to me, that speaks to, again, the plan or lack of plan of Juventus that they've had. I think to name a coach, a great player, a champion, you can't dispute that, right? Pirlo's a champion, but it doesn't necessarily translate into being a great coach, right? And there's something different about what you were able to do in the field innately as a champion, seeing the game, playing the game quickly, right? But transposing that into a team, right, is different. And listen, hopefully he grows into the role. Like, I'm rooting for him, right? I mean, I love the guy from the 2006 World Cup still, right? Like, I love anyone that's associated with Juventus glory days. Like, we're all rooting for him. But I'm not one of these people that just says, oh, he was a great player, he's going to be a great coach. Because it doesn't matter what sport you're in, that doesn't always happen, right? So what Pirlo has is the credibility of, hey, I was a champion on the field. I played at the highest level. I've won everything there is to win. Listen to me. However, that will quickly disintegrate over the course of the season once you start to implement what you think, how your team should play, your in-game decisions, right? How do you manage players that maybe aren't first choices, right? This is all the things that we're going to see if he's going to manage. Right now, I don't love the whole persona of his hands in his pocket. And maybe it's a bad snapshot, right, Chris? But to your point, we've seen a lot of those pitchers. I don't see a whole lot of charisma, right? What I see now is a player who may be relying on his past player performance and being a friend, kind of still of their age, to get his credibility. And I'm just thinking in life, right, in terms of being a coach, a manager, or a leader of any sort, there's going to have to be some intrinsic skills that hopefully are in there that we don't know about. and I'm rooting for him, like I said, but I also hope they didn't set him up to fail just because of this whole, like, hey, guess what? We're firing Sorry. You're in.
Well,
right?
so that's the thing. Like, they fired Sorry. Like, you can only go up from Sorry. Like, nobody likes Sorry. So he's got that going for him. Like, and, you know, since he has the reputation as a player, I think they're going to give him a little bit of time to, you know, adjust. And he's never coached before, all that. But, I mean, his actions are going to really speak to what he, you know, how they judge him. And if he looks like he has no idea what he's doing on the sideline, like, that's not going to fly. And he's coaching old players that he used to, you know, be teammates with. So, like, yes, they have that relationship, but it can be tricky trying to change from friend to boss, you know. So, I don't know. I think he's going to have a rough go of it. I really do.
Well, I was going to echo that. Like, I don't know, does it help that Buffon and, you know, Chiellini, he played with them? Like, is that?
I see them two as more of a coach than him. So
me too. So does that help? You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
you bring up an interesting point there, because he's going to have the senators, right? Chiellini and Buffon, really the people that really truly, when I think about Juventus DNA, are the guys that are going to impose it on the next group, right? However, you know, as a coach, let's look at those two players, right? Buffon has accepted his role as the backup, even though he's still good, you know, Szczesny, whatever, you know, he's accepted his role. Bonucci is still sitting there like a pillar in the defense, right? And what happens when, to me as a coach, just kind of thinking about if I was Pirlo's position, there may be a time where your best defense is Demiral and De Ligt, right? In my mind, right? And Chiellini comes back to form, right? Bonucci, even though I know for a lot of people Bonucci's the king there, what happens when the guy that you're counting on to give you credibility, all of a sudden, what you see on the field or in practice, you're saying, oh, you know, my eyes tell me Demiral is better. Demiral is the next Chiellini, right? He's that strong iron guy in the, you know, can I take this guy out? Right? Can I take Bonucci out? So I don't know. What might be a strength now could be a problem in the, you know, over the course of the season. I think that's something to watch for sure, because, you know, I think that's been part of the problem with Juventus recently. They haven't had the coach there, or the guts, or the organizational structure to say, you know what, here are the players that really we believe in, we're going to move forward with. It's been a lot of, you know, these are the names, we have to stay with them. I mean, Demiral wouldn't have played unless they had the injuries, right? It was almost to the point where they were thinking about selling him. Another young guy that, you know, we were dying to get on the field, that they almost switched in transfers, and there was rumors, and then Sarri got him on the field because of injury, and he showed the guy that we thought that I think he is. To me, I think he's gonna, if he gets a chance, I think he's gonna take his spot and never leave it for 10 years on Juventus. So, yeah, I mean, that's curious. I am curious to see what happens.
I personally don't think he's gonna make that call. If everyone's healthy, you're gonna see Chiellini and Bonucci back there. The thing about their defense is they're never all healthy. Chiellini will play 10 games this season. De Ligt already hurt. So, yes, in the beginning you'll see Demiral, and he's going to play well, and people are going to be saying, start him, keep him in the lineup, but Pirlo's not going to. Once they're healthy, it's going to be Chiellini and Bonucci, and you're going to go with that until someone gets hurt.
I mean, what does that say? And I agree with you, Dan. You're going based on history, but what does that say if you have a coach who, like, we can already predict what may happen, and even if everything on the field says the time is to move on, and you have an organization that doesn't or a coach that doesn't have enough juice to say, look, this guy's got to come out, right? I mean, to me, that's insane.
Power in the organization to make that call either. Like, I think there'll be voices in his head to say, you got to play these two. Sorry. Like, yeah, I know these other two are good, but right now they're playing. You know, I think he's going to have other influences. He's not going to have the full say.
But that, and he has to think about the locker room too. He benches those guys, or people are going to start getting pissed.
Well, you know what? I think with the team, see, that's where I think it takes that's where we'll see if Pirlo is really going to be another Zidane or Guardiola, right? Or another guy who has been a great player that fizzles out, right? And
yeah, I mean, think of what you're asking. You're asking him to bench the two captains of the team? Like, who's going to come in as a new coach and say, yeah, I'm benching you two?
I'm not asking him to bench the two captains. I'm asking him to actually evaluate the form of the players based on how they play. And listen, I understand starting with those guys, but giving a fair chance to see, okay, what is the form of the players? How are they playing? How does the team play as a total 11, right? Where are our strengths? I mean, right now our fullbacks are crap, right? Pellegrini, who I know the three of us on here hope get the chance to play, but he might slide into a spot just by chance, right? Because they were thinking, oh, we're going to sell him, we're going to trade him, whatever, just to make some money. And I want to have a little bit more confidence in the coach to be like, that's why I love Marcello Lippi, right? Because Marcello Lippi could read a game and make the right moves, the 2 or 3 changes to change the game in context. Most of the time, he got them right. The rest of these guys, they win because they have the most champions and they put them on the field, and you got to play that really doesn't have any real true characteristics, right? Any true style. And, you win. You win by 1 point. You beat these other teams out. But, I mean, I expect more. I mean, I think that's just being old now. I'm an old dud, 40 years old, and I just expect more. I don't know.
See, it'll be interesting tomorrow. Like I said, I want to see him on the sideline. I want to see if his hands are in the pockets, if he's screaming out directions, if he's just sitting in his chair like I think he's going to do. He's going to sit in his seat and be quiet for 30 minutes and then eventually stand up. If they go down, you'll see him stand up and start barking things out. I think he's going to be very silent on the sidelines.
Also don't want him to be a nutcase like, Inter, right?
The problem is, listen, I love the fire. We knew that we're going to get that from Conte. That was the kind of player he was when he was a Juventus coach. But the problem with Conte is he makes excuses. He cries like a baby, right? Like, you're going out there, your team's going out there and buying whoever the heck you want, and you still want to act like you're sitting there with Serie A players trying to win the Scudetto. I mean, come on, it's at a certain chance, your team. You gotta take responsibility. You can't sit there and just say, "Oh, it's not on me. I didn't have the players. I didn't have this." Get more out of your players, right? The same thing I'll say here. Sarri got nothing. No one had their best year on Juventus last year. I would say that I've ever seen. Maybe Bentancur grew a little bit more into the role, but
Dybala played good at the end of the season.
Okay, so Dybala, perfect example. Dybala was somebody that was cast off, right? Because we have Ronaldo, can't take him off the field, right? I love Higuain. If I'm sorry, so I have to put him on. Dybala had the character to grow into it and take his spot despite the lack of confidence that he was showing, right? So I think Dybala had a silent, in his career, a really big growth movement to go, I belong here, right? Which for Dybala, I think he still needed to grow into. So I agree, but he wasn't set up for that. Which player can you say, wow, look how he grew under Sarri? And that's what you want out of a coach, right? Who's gonna have their best year? Who's gonna have their best year because of the coach and the style of play? And I don't think we've had that.
Definitely Bernardeschi.
Right, hands down, Bernardeschi had his best year for sure.
I mean, you saw Bentancur play decent at times, but there's times where he's just switched off too, and you're like, what's going on? But I don't know. No one really had a good season.
Guys, in terms of other teams that stood out to you. I know we talked a little bit about Atalanta and we talked a lot about Juventus. And any thoughts on Milan, Lazio, anyone else?
As far as what?
Last year's recap, how they ended up.
So Milan ended up, they finished strong at the end of the season, the second half of the season. They kept Pioli. That was a big decision that they had to do. They made that. There was talks that they were going to fire him and go with that Dutch guy. But the moves they made this offseason have been strong ones. Maldini has put his mark on the team, I think. The Tonali signing is, in 10 years, Inter is going to be like, what the hell did we do? Why did we sign Vidal when we could have had this kid? That with, getting Ibrahimovic back, they have a midfield that, as a Juventus fan, I wish I had that midfield. Benacer, Kessie, Tonali. That's going to be the hard midfield to go up against. And Ibrahimovic, yeah, he's old, but you can just see the change in attitude of the team from when he went there in the middle of the season. Like, he doesn't accept failure. He doesn't accept them to mess around. He wants their best. He expects their best. And if they don't give him the best, then he lets them have it. So you saw the complete change in mentality from them. And I think it's going to continue. If he's healthy, he's going to have, for a full season, at least 15 goals, I think. He's going to be strong. Rebic, playing with him, did pretty well last year. And you're going to see them playing an exciting football. And I want to see them in the top four. It's not the same without them in the top four. They should be in the Champions League. The league is better for it.
Yeah, I would agree with. I mean, I think a lot of what, if you look at Milan's doing, right? Milan is investing in the younger players, which I do like. And I think, to your point, Dan, Tonali, I think not only Inter is going to regret it, but Juventus is going to regret not getting it right. And that speaks to a little bit of what I was saying earlier, is sacrificing the future. When you look at a loan deal with an option to buy for, I think, what was it, around $35 million for Tonali?
So that's the thing. If you go back to the beginning of last season, before last season started, people were saying 60, 70 million for him. To get him for that little and that little up front is so ridiculous. And the fact that every team didn't jump on that. Like, Hellas Verona should have jumped on. Every team should have jumped on him for that money. Like, it's insane that, they got him for that cheap. And he's a Milan fan, so that, I'm happy for him that he got to go there. But I think, every single team will regret not going after him.
Well, and it just shows, again, the lack of confidence by Juventus. Sometimes when they do get the right young player, you end up never seeing them on Juventus. They loan him out for a year or two, right, even when they do get him. And then they go to play another team. And it's just like, you can't keep bringing in, the players that they're bringing in because, they're 35 years old. And, they might help you, again, with the current status of the club, keep where you're at, but that's like a spinning wheel, right? That's a hamster wheel you're on that you're going to fall off, I'm afraid of, at one point when everyone's going to get old at the same time. And, there was COVID. These teams lost a ton of money, right? But that's, to your point, I think another reason you jump on someone like Tonali at his age, right? I mean, I think what's going to happen, honestly, being a Juventus fan, I think he's going to play 3-4 years on Milan, right? He's going to end up, his value is going to go up to $70-80 million or whatever, and
then Juventus is going to buy him. Yep,
right.
With a contract that's going to be $8 million a year instead of $2 million. It's going to be ridiculous.
So again, if you're Patat, I can never say his name. What I'm trying to say, Paratici. Jesus, I'm going to say his name. I don't know his guess. If you're him, show me some guts. Go get him. Believe in the fact that he can play in the midfield. I mean, and put him there and develop him, right? And then you get rewarded with that increased value, right? But no, and that's the problem I have. So I agree. Milan, I like the moves they're making. I think they still have a lot of young guys that we still haven't seen the best of, right? And the defense, they have a ton of young guys that can still improve. I know Conte's always hurt, but I was a big fan of Conte when he came over from Atalanta. But I think they are trying to do the right stuff. I mean, I still have to see if they're willing to get these guys developed and then add on top of it, right? But I think Inter is going to regret it big time, and I think that's the problem when you have a guy like Conte who sits there and he screams and he whines, and he makes short-term decisions that are best for what he thinks him in that moment, and he could care less. He'll turn around next year and say, adios, I'm out of here. And now you're stuck with a bunch of old guys that are overpaid. Vidal's a great player, right? He's not Juventus Vidal anymore, but he's still a great player.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm happy for Tonali most because if he went to Inter, he was going to rot on the bench for at least the first half of the season. He was not going to play. It was going to be Vidal, and Barella is going to be there since he's there. They have so many players. He wasn't going to see the field. So I think it's the best move for him. I just think Inter was very short-sighted and
I think it would have been the same if he was on Juventus. I don't think he would have played much either.
Well, Juventus doesn't have as good of a midfield, though. He could have played on Juventus, but for Inter, they're going to play the other guys.
Well, do you think McKennie's going to play a lot on Juventus? I hope so.
McKennie is one of the guys I have circled as the guys I'm excited about in terms of the transfer move, and that's what it's going to come down to. I think personally he has a lot of the qualities that Juventus midfield need in terms of grit, work rate, ability to win the ball, straight up desire to prove he belongs, right? I mean, and I am super stoked for the fact that it's just an American player on Juventus, which we've never had. So I'm like doubly excited about that. I hope he turns into David's Light, right? I mean, in 4 years. Which
I think people need to relax with his their expectations of him, but he's Matuidi with skill. Hopefully, that's what you want.
Faster, right? Which those guys are important, right? Vidal was insanely important for Juventus. We missed Vidal since he's been gone, I think. But I think Tonali would have, again, this talks about the guts, right, of the coach and the organization. I mean, how much better would you guys feel right now as Juventus fans if you had, let's say, Tonali and McKinney in the midfield with maybe a Bentancur, right, or some two young guys that you could be like.
Well, I think Arthur is the one who stopped them from getting Tonali. Like if they didn't have Arthur, I think Tonali would be on the team.
Yeah, me too.
Arthur's going to be the one who's spraying the ball around and being the one who they're going to be relying on. It's better than Pjanic. Pjanic was non-existent, and Sarri said he wanted to get the ball, but if you saw Pjanic last year, he barely touched the ball. He barely moved. The ball was always going out to the wings. He never saw the ball. You didn't see him make a pass more than 5 yards. So I think there's the biggest difference of the entire season is you're going to see them getting the ball to Arthur, and he's going to spray it out to Kulusevski, and he's going to spray it out to the side, and you're going to see a lot of crosses to Ronaldo and possibly Dzeko. I think he's going to be coming, and I think that's the way they're going to play.
No, I think you're on there. I mean, personally, I think this is another common mistake of Juventus and also Serie A in general, Italian teams, right? Like they have a young Italian guy who costs less money in Tonali. And then you have Arthur, Barcelona. Okay, he played on a bigger team, Barcelona, right? And I think a lot of it was also just a little bit of financial fancy accounting to try to, get rid of Pjanic, and so both teams could actually do a little bit of something. But I think, to me, I would have bet on Tonali. I mean, over Arthur. And hopefully I'm wrong. I think Arthur's a decent player, but, I would have liked to see – and that's also – when I think the Italian national team, right? Because anytime the Italian national team has been good, they've had a block of players from Juventus, possibly a block from Milan, right, and Inter. Well, we know that for a while Juventus has been carrying that block because they've had the Italian players. Where are they? Right, we keep getting players that are 35 years old that are all these different, international players. Great, but that leaves the work for the Italian national team. A different discussion, totally, right? That makes it harder for them to build any type of group, which I think is tough, and that's why I would have,
Unfortunately for Juventus, it's become more of a brand than the actual stuff on the field. It's like, let's get somebody who's going to sell jerseys or people are going to, want to follow online social media than who can actually help the team. So Inter, I like that Inter got all these Italian midfielders. They have a core. Juventus, they have other things in mind other than soccer. They're still winning, but it's not as important as it was years ago.
Yeah, I think they take Serie A as for granted, right? They know that they can pretty much win or be in the running for Serie A as built, and they're trying to listen. And we talked about this when we got Ronaldo, 2 years ago, where obviously we weren't thinking about doing this show. But Ronaldo is he's a unicorn, right? Because he's one of the top 2 or 3 greatest players in the world. He sells an incredible amount of jerseys and apparel, and brings on people to talk about your team that have never touched a soccer ball in the world. I mean, literally my wife's cousin, 6-year-old girl who's like never played soccer. One day I was at a party and she was talking about Ronaldo. Girl does not like sports, does not like soccer. So from a marketing standpoint, unicorn, right? You made the money back. You became, you were always a top 5, top 10 club, and you were trying to take that jump to Real Madrid it made sense. Did it create problems, like we said 2 years ago? Yeah, because you have Ronaldo that can't come off the field, right? And yeah, Ronaldo's a great player. He scores his goals, what have you. But I don't think anyone should be that indispensable where you can't take him off if it's not his day. And that's the problem we had last year where, you'd have a game they're playing Dybala and Ronaldo, and sorry, at the 60th minute, it was always Dybala coming off, even if Dybala was the only one playing, right? So I think players internally see that, and I know they understand. Oh, it's Ronaldo. He gets treated. He's a different egg. But I think that had a little bit to do with the McKinney deal. I think they got lucked into that because I think everyone knows the biggest, untapped market, if you will, is the U.S. market, right? And Serie A doesn't have American players. Premier League has a ton of American players, right? And fans like us in America, like we're just as passionate about soccer, and now we have a guy that people in America are going to follow Juventus. You're going to see more Juventus jerseys, not just Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, right? So that's a brilliant move there. I just hope he gets on the field and he develops, right? And he becomes what I think he can become.
Especially those orange jerseys, man. Those third jerseys, those are beautiful.
What is that? Like or something? Like I don't even know. I'm not a fan of that. I'm just glad to see we actually have a black and white stripe come back. I'm like, a black and white stripe.
All right, let's move on from Juventus because we can talk about them for 6 hours, and we should talk about something else. So what? Some other teams. We haven't mentioned Napoli at all. With their moves, keeping Gattuso. They seem to respond well to him last year. They made some signings. They're getting rid of some people. Koulibaly might be leaving. Most likely is going to leave. So their defense is definitely taking a hit. They signed. I don't even know how to say his name. The kid that played in the French league. They spent a decent amount of money on him, and he looks promising. So
was it like 80 million or something?
Yeah, they spent a lot of money on him. So do they jump back into the top 6? I don't know. I don't think they have enough.
I mean, Mom from Naples, that. Like, when I grew up, I remember Grandpa crying the one year Naples lost in the end there, and the one year they did win back in wherever the heck that was, the 80s or whatever, the Maradona golden years, right? But I don't believe it. I think this is what some of these teams are honestly kind of missing. I think they're going to end up teetering in that, higher mid end of the table. And, I think what they had with Sarri and why Sarri got hired at Juventus was because they let him alone for a few years. He put a style of play with Insigne and specific players. And, they attacked and they did their own. But I think that cycle has kind of come to a close. And now they're in the middle of trying to rebuild on the fly. I'm probably wrong. I have to wait to see him on the field. But Gattuso is kind of like Conte, right? Maybe minus some of the complaining. He's that guy who's going to put that fire, which I like. That's how Daddy coached us, right? If he ever gets on this show, guys, you'll see a crazy Italian guy who just likes to yell and we probably won't get to talk. But I don't know. You're right. Like, let me see how what the team actually plays like, right? And it's not only that. It's like, when you start playing well, can you start to manage the result to get the 3 points and not lose them in the end? And little things that we take for granted as Juve fans that, all the other teams got to prove that they can do.
Yeah, consistent winning. Roma, they have new owner. They have Zaniolo injured again, which sucks.
Yeah, that stinks. Feel bad for him.
From experience with the torn ACL, you, Frank, and myself have both had it. It sucks. It's not fun. I still haven't recovered years later.
Albeit I'm fat and shape. I am not sitting.
Yeah, I'm not anywhere near where he's at, but it's definitely not a fun process. So mentally, it's got to be hurting him. Looks like they're signing Milik from Napoli to replace Dzeko. Top 6 might be tricky for them also. They do have some players, but there's too much changing. There's so much changing right now at Rome. It's going to be hard for them, I think, especially in the beginning of the season.
Are they also getting Kumbula?
Yes, they are getting him.
Yeah, he's a good player.
He's good, yeah. But it's one player. I think losing Zaniolo is more than adding. It's worse than
Of course,
it's hard to replace that.
My dog Willie is barking in the background. I'm not sure if you guys can hear that. There must be someone on my front door downstairs, so apologize. But is what it is. You guys go to watch this. You have to blame.
The team I really want to talk about is Fiorentina, though.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of American fans that actually do like Fiorentina, but it's the moves they've made. The new owner who came last year, Camiso. But the moves they made, they have two of my favorite players in the entire league. Kwame, who also was coming off an ACL injury, he played at the end of last season, and Amrabat from Hellas Verona. I enjoyed watching them so much last year. Talking about someone who controls a game, Amrabat will control the game for them, and I could see them pushing for top 6. Their defense is still shaky. They don't have a good defense. Their goalie had a down year last year, and he's got a lot of promise. I'm hoping he bounces back. Yeah, last year he didn't play good. Ribéry stays healthy, hopefully. I am really looking for Fiorentina to make top 6 with an outside shot of top 4. Like that's how good. That's how good I think they're going to be.
That's insane.
I really do. Amrabat's suspended this weekend, which sucks. But watch next week when he plays how good they're going to be.
So I like them too, but like the league is so deep that to make top 4, even top 6, is going to be really, really tough, man. Really tough. But I agree. Their coach is awesome. That was one of the best moves they did. I'm thinking a different team. But I don't really like their coach. I thought we were talking about Verona for a second, but I love their coach. They kept him.
Juric. Juric is awesome. Verona lost a lot of players, so that's the problem.
That's what I'm thinking, because they lost,
they
lost. Amrabat. But one of their best moves was keeping him, obviously. But Fiorentina, like you said, they have talent, but to get to top 4 there's so many good teams.
They got a good mix. They signed some older guys. They got young guys. Like they even got Bonaventura. Like he's gonna help that team
for sure.
They have a good mix of players. Their defense is shaky, and Milinkovic is rumored to possibly leave, which would not be good for them. It's going to be interesting to see them. I think they're going to be one of the more fun teams to watch, and I think they're going to surprise some people. So with that, do you guys want to do predictions for top 4? We didn't even talk about the bottom of the table with relegation or anything like that, with the new teams promoted, all that. But
why don't we go into just, I guess, predictions for this year? We can kind of talk, round up anything that we think is going to stick out. We can at least maybe do the top 6, 7 that we all think.
We'll keep it quick. We'll tell our top 6 and then our bottom 3, with also the caveat of the transfer window is still open, so the teams could change. Chris, are you pulling up the standings so we can take a look at the teams?
Yeah, I have last year's standings up. I could switch to just
switch to this year so we can see all the teams. All right, so Chris, you go first. Give us start with the Champions League. Do your top 4.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like Juventus is still going to be on top. I think they're going to be 1. 2. I actually think I like Milan. I like how the way they ended and the moves they're making. So I'm going to pick them at 2.
2. You're putting them at 2?
Yeah, I don't like Inter. I do not like them. So,
okay.
I'm going to put Milan at 2. And I don't know. I like lots, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do that again. But they fell off at the end of the season. So I would probably say Inter at 3. And then Atalanta, I guess, at 4. I like them, and I love Gasparini, but I don't know if they have. I don't know. I don't know if they have the experience.
Ilicic, should be back. Miranchuk's hurt now, but he's going to be a good player too. So we'll see. I think they should probably keep the top 4. I'm going to go next. I'll say Juventus first, but it's a very tentative Juventus first. Their season, it's the first time in a long time. I don't know what to expect. Like I said, I could see Pirlo being fired in 2 months. But I'm going to go with them first because if he does get fired, I think they're going to hire someone who has a long track record and knows what they're doing. But I'm still going to put them first. I am going to put Inter second. They do have a good roster, even though I hate Inter. Like, they have a good roster. They're going to be fine. They're not going to be. They have trouble managing the three tournaments: the Italian Cup, the Champions League, and the season. Once they're kicked out of those, I think you'll see them. They're obviously going to focus on the season, and they're gonna do well towards the end of the season. I do think Atalanta's going to stay in third. In third, they have a good team. They have the best coach in the league, and they just have a great organization. And then they're most fun to watch. So I'll say them 4. I was them 3, and then I'm putting Milan in 4 just because I want to see them in the Champions League. And they made some good moves, and they're going in the right direction. Finally, they have a consistent plan this time, hopefully. And are going to keep going with it. So that's it. Juventus, Inter, Atalanta, Milan. Frank, what about you?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to put Juventus 1 again, only because they deserve at least that after winning 9 in a row. That little bit of respect. I think they're going to be. They have to be beaten, right? I think it will happen. I think to your point, this year is, if they start off the wrong way, it could fall apart quickly, right? So there's a lot to be. This year should at least be more competitive throughout. But and I will say too, depending, I'm assuming this is with a couple of moves that they do make between now and the transfer window, right? With the Dzeko, possibly in addition to Suarez, bring on those 2-year-olds. It's going to be different. I still think we need improvement in on the fullback spots. I do think we need another midfielder, but I don't know if all that's going to happen. With that being said, I think if 3/5 of it happens, I think Juventus will still manage with Ronaldo's will to win. I still think they will end up eking out second place. Second place, I hate Inter. I think Conte is overrated, but I do think one thing he's able to do is make his team work. If he gets players like Vidal, I think they're going to have enough to get second place. If Juventus falter, they could possibly actually win one, which I really, again, I can't believe I'm even saying that. But that's only really because the players they're bringing in are, again, more mature and have more of a pedigree than some of these other teams that I probably like what they're doing more, but they have younger guys, right? So I'm going to say Juventus 1. I think Inter 2. I think I'm doubling down on Gasperini with Atalanta for number 3. I love the Miranchuk deal. I think I saw it. I watched him play a little bit more after I saw the deal come through, and because it's Atalanta and Gasperini, I'm betting that guy in 2-3 years is going to be valued 3 times as much as he is now, right? Now, if it was Inter, I bet he'd probably lose his career and never play again, right? But so I think Atalanta number 3, and I would love to see them unseat Inter 2. And heck, if they're able to do that, I mean, last year I remember I was so disgusted with how Juventus was playing. There was a time where I really was rooting for Atalanta to leap ahead of everybody, including Juventus, despite being a Juve fan, just for spite, right? I wanted to
see Juventus was doing well.
And let's not forget, they were so close in the Champions League to going further too, and how that all crumbled in the last 5 minutes. And then
every week, the one game I wanted to see every week was Atalanta. That was the game I wanted to watch.
Exactly. And it's not just I'm not one of these guys, we grew up with Italian soccer, right? So I'm not one of these guys who puts the style of play over the result. That's just not how Italian soccer is. Italian soccer is about the result, right? I appreciate a good defensive game. It's not about that. It's that they played. It's just everything. The organization, how they played, how they get the most out of their players, how they had no fear. It was like, you're going to come back. We're going to go down 1-0. Great. Come back and beat you 3-2.
Yeah, I mean, how many times did they let up a goal like in 5 minutes and then be like, "Oh, who cares? Like, we're gonna score 5. It doesn't matter."
Exactly. And that's why I agree with you. I think Gasperini probably is the best coach in Serie A right now. I think they lost Castagna, which I think is going to hurt them. But you know what? I'm in. I'm all in. I'm sure they have 3 guys that we've never heard of that are going to come in.
They do.
Yep.
Now, if they lose Gosens, there was some rumor that Juventus was trying to get Gosens, which I don't think is going to happen. I don't think they have the money for it.
No, yeah, he's going to stay.
But if another team swoops in and gives them a big check, okay, they might potentially. But I've been saying that for years, right? They keep losing their best players, going back to Spinazzola and Caldara and Conti and Kessie, and they just keep rolling up and getting better. So anyway, yeah, I think Atalanta third with a little place in my heart, hoping they win Scudetto and beat me. But I'll say third. And then fourth, I'm going to go Milan because I am not a hypocrite. I like the moves they're making in terms of the young investments in players like Tonali. I would like to see them get rewarded for that. I think the championship as a whole is better when you have teams like Inter and Milan being competitive. I don't like seeing the league done with 6 weeks to go. I barely can pay attention, so it's kind of boring at that point. So I am pulling for them. So I have the same as Daniel. I'm going Juve, Inter, Atalanta, and Milan.
Yeah. Okay. And what about your guys 5 and 6 to get Europa League? You guys have any thoughts on those? For me, I'm going to say I'm putting Fiorentina in one of the slots. Like I just said, I want them in top 4. They're my dark horse for top 4, but I didn't select them. So I definitely see 5 or 6 for them. And then with that, I'm going to put Lazio. I don't see them dropping that far, from where they were last year. They did sign 1 or 2 players and still have a good team. And they've been there together for a long time. They seem to be able to at least keep their players, even though they don't sign tons of new players. They're at least keeping the guys that are, the core. So, 5 or 6 for them, and then Fiorentina is gonna take the other spot.
I would say Napoli and who'd you say? Napoli and not Fiorentina. Lots, I think, top 6.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a 3-way. I think Lazio, Napoli, and Fiorentina are probably going to be in that battle. But I think in the end, I think it's going to be Lazio and Fiorentina. I'm going to say Napoli gets knocked out.
Frank, you're just copying all my picks. So.
Well, I didn't know you were going to go first. What? You copied my pick.
I got to admit, I thought Chris would go for Sassuolo in the top 6. He likes them.
I absolutely love them.
Boga, I think he's the biggest Caputo fan in the world. Honestly,
Caputo, I love him, dude. He just scores. He knows what he's doing, and he scores. I don't care. He's 32 years old. Who cares? He knows what he's doing.
And do you guys want to do your relegation? I know it's a little harder to do relegations, especially with the smaller teams, to know what their moves are and who's even on the rosters, especially the teams that are moving up. I can tell you, I think. Chris, bring up your screen.
All right, hold on. I think I know my 3. Hold on one sec.
So I can tell you, of the teams that are in the league last year, I think Udinese is going to get relegated. They don't make any moves. They sell players. DePaul might be going. They were horrendous last year. So one of my bottom 3 is going to be Udinese. They're going to be gone. I think Benevento is going to stay up. They're a team that got promoted, and they actually made some moves, and they have, actual talented players. So I think they're staying up of the 3 teams that got promoted. I think Spezia is going down, and Crotone will go down, right away. Those 2 teams. Them 2 with Udinese will be my relegation teams.
Those were my 3 as well.
Really?
Yeah. I think. Look, none of us are going out on a limb there. Honestly, those are 3 of the 4 teams that I think everybody has. I think if you look at the Serie A odds too, that kind of matches what the odds are for relegation. So I don't think we're saying anything that I'm going to add anything to that discussion. That's mind bending. I think I want to see again. I think I am a believer it's sport, and that's why it's great, right? It's in the fact that in the end, you want to see teams get on the field and how they play. But when you look at just rosters on paper, I think those are probably the early candidates to potentially go down. But we know they'll always be an underperformer, right? That'll have to scrape and claw. Maybe Udinese is that underperformer, even though they're kind of at the bottom anyway. Udinese is essentially what Atalanta is now. Udinese was 15 years ago. I felt like they had a bunch of players that they would bring out of nowhere that Juventus would have, and teams like Juventus would end up buying for quadruple what they had. And they were developing players. That kind of ended because, again, I don't know if their infrastructure, their club has changed that much, and they lost some of those people. But I think, who knows? I don't know who they have really in terms of on the youth teams or anything like that. But, I think those are probably the main candidates to go down.
Okay. Do you guys want to go with top goal scorer predictions?
Oof.
We can each give one.
We can. I'm going to go with Zapata.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I think he's great.
What number are you looking at? How many goals are you saying for him?
I mean, so what was it last year? How many Immobile have? 31?
They had like over 30.
No, they had like 30. Didn't they have like 36 or 38?
Yeah, 36, 38.
Yeah.
Again, that was with the crazy amount of penalty shots also. Hopefully penalty shots, we see a dip in those this year because that was just stupid.
Did they change the handball rule or no?
I don't know. I'm sure we'll see tons of penalty shots again. But
I mean, that was show on why soccer sucks now because of the new VAR. I mean, seriously, like I did not enjoy it, but okay.
Well, it's turning into football, man. The other night, watching a football game, the first play, replay. I'm like, really? Come on, man. I turned it off.
And you're going to slow down the game, go VAR, and then come back from a 5-minute break and still get it wrong. And
well, that's the frustrating part. I don't mind that they do it. It's just why are you going to still get it wrong?
Well, and again, that was, I guess, Italy's interpretation of the new handball rule was different than others. I mean, but when you have somebody's hands literally in his pocket, might as well be in his shorts playing with himself, and he's
on the field.
Yeah. So Pirlo getting a penalty on that when the ball clearly plays your hand on your body. To me, that's
as much as we hate it, I still think they do a better job than the Premier League. They have issues way more than Italy.
So what do you have? You have Zapata. How many goals?
I don't know. I'll say 28.
Okay. What about you, Frank?
I think Immobile's been underrated for a long time in the sense of I think the guy just scores. He just doesn't score in big games like the national team and such. I have a hard time thinking Lazio is going to be that good again in terms of creating chances. I think Atalanta will, so I think Chris is probably smart in Zapata, but I actually think Ronaldo is going to win it this year. I think because he's going to be on the field. He takes the free kicks and penalties from Dybala, right? I mean, he's set up to get his goals. I think he will probably score 32, 33 goals. And win it. And again, this is not coming from the biggest Ronaldo fanboy. I just think the guy scores, right? And I don't know if he does that much more than score, but hey, he scores. So
he's gonna have an opportunity for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't take games off. He plays every game, basically. It's hard to argue with that. I mean, so really the top 4 players you're looking at are Zapata, Immobile, Ronaldo, Lukaku, which nobody mentioned, who played really well last year, took penalty shots. He also gave away some chances for some penalty shots, too, last year. He would say, hey, you take it, which, you don't see a lot of strikers doing.
I don't like that. I want him to want to take it.
Yeah, I mean, it's, maybe if it's in a 4-0 game and he doesn't care, he's like, go ahead, you take it, whatever. I also think Ronaldo is going to be top goal scorer. I see well over 30 goals for him. I think Kulusevski is going to be great for him. Dybala and Ronaldo played well together towards the end of the year. So you put them 3 up top, or Dzeko, I think, is going to, when he comes, I think he's going to play the ball beautifully outside to both of them. They're going to kick the ball up to him. He's going to trap it, distribute. They're just going to be on their way. The crosses are going to come in. Ronaldo's great in the air. Ronaldo takes the penalty shots. Ronaldo takes the free kicks, which he sucks at. But he's going to have well over 30, so I'm going to say Ronaldo.
Yeah, and anyone else see a potential problem already happening? I think Dzeko is the type of forward that they do need in terms of helping them hold the ball up and do a lot of the things that they don't necessarily have in that number 9, right? I don't love his age. I don't love his paycheck. I mean, it could turn into Higuain in a couple of years where you're paying half his money to give him to somebody else, right? But regardless of that, anyone else see a potential problem? What I'm fearful of is that I do believe in Kowaleski. I think he's going to be big, but I also believe in Dybala. We know Ronaldo is going to be on the field. If they bring Dzeko, I worry that the odd man out is either going to be between Dybala and Kowaleski. You're not going to get the time that they need, or potentially, and this also scares me, with the Dybala and the contract and everything. I think part of the problem is Juventus a lot of times is they need to sell, obviously, to buy. And that's why you see players like Dybala, sometimes I think they fall into potentially getting sold because someone's willing to pony up $100 million for Dybala, right? Because he's young and he's got potential. So I think they almost end up selling their future to fund their habit, kind of like a crackhead a little bit. I'm not saying they're going to sell Dybala now, but I do think that I'm a little worried. I want to see how Pirlo manages to get Kowaleski, Dybala, Ronaldo, and possibly a Dzeko on the field and keep the team balanced. I am curious to see how that plays out.
Oh, you're still picking Ronaldo though?
Yeah. I think he's not going to come out. Because I think he's not going to come out.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to play 38 games. He's going to play 35 of them. He's not going to come out.
Which he's not going to do because it's the easiest way to get fired, right? Is to turn Ronaldo against you. But if he showed the guts to really, really play in the moment and make it up, he would get instant respect from me because I don't think coaches.
It's not happening.
There's no way.
It's not happening. Don't worry about that.
I agree. I agree. But I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there.
All right. Well, I don't really want to go for predictions for each game this week because it's so hard, especially the first week with the new team.
Why don't we pick 3 games and we'll all kind of make some predictions on the game? Maybe we pick the Juventus game. We'll pick a couple games. We'll each nominate a game and make a prediction, and we'll keep track of that.
Yeah.
We'll do that throughout the season.
I mean, not every team plays this week. There's 6 teams that aren't playing because of
Atalant's not playing, right? Who else isn't playing?
There's a few teams. Inter's not playing because they had there was tournament stuff that PTs are doing. So today, actually, in a couple hours, you got Fiorentina versus Torino, and you got Hellas Verona versus Rome.
All right, why don't we do? You want to do those two?
Yeah, I'll start, I guess. For the first game, Fiorentina Torino, I'm picking Fiorentina. Even though Amrabat's not playing. Which sucks, but they're gonna start the season off on a good foot. Torino does have a new coach, and they actually made a couple of moves. They're gonna be way better, I think. They're not way better. They're gonna be better than last year. Last year, Torino was a mess. They're gonna have a bounce back year.
Who was it, Zanga?
Yeah, they had a few coaches last year. So now they have Gianpaolo, I think, is their coach.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So. But I do think Fiorentina is going to win that one. And for Hellas Verona versus Roma, they said Dzeko was going to play, but I don't think he's going to play.
Wait, give us a score for Fiorentina.
I'm not giving a score. Get out of here.
Give us a score.
I'm putting a tie for Hellas Verona versus Roma.
Yep, I agree. Fiorentina and a tie.
All right, so give me a score because Roma might all say the same thing, so we might as well do the score.
I mean, it could be anything. It's a first game.
2-1 and 2-2. There, it doesn't matter.
I'll say 1-0 and 1-1.
All right. I think the first week I was gonna go Fiorentina too. I think they still are likely to win, but I think Amrabat not being there does make a big difference. He's one of the main reasons I do like their team improving. I think the first week, shortened off season. I'll say 1-1 just to be different. With Fiorentina or Torino, I'll say 1-1, and I'll say a tie with Verona and Roma as well. So 2 ties.
Just wait until October with them, and once they have a finalized team, you can be able to assess their team a little bit better than right now. It's hard.
More thought into I think the games themselves, the predictions.
Yeah, that's why it's too hard right now. It's
all right. Well, anything else, guys, you want to cover in this Seria A Kickoff show here that starts in a couple hours?
No, I mean, other than I think it's going to be a more exciting season than last year. I think it's going to be closer, and I don't know. I think it's going to be a fun season.
I agree. That's what I hope. Right. I hope. I hope that I'm seeing improvement in Juventus, and I'm not constantly complaining, even though they're getting positive results of stagnation or nothing good. I won't be, but I think it's going to be interesting if nothing else, right? And if nothing else, I hope Atalanta comes back and plays the way they did the last couple of years, and I'll be entertained. So,
yeah, I agree.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for those of you that tuned in and watched this all the way through the end. If you did, hit us a like. You should probably be the first one, or subscribe. So that would be helpful. So we're going to try to do these shows at least weekly, and keep apprised. Maybe we don't know exactly what day we'll do every week, but we'll try to be on and be consistent. So thanks for watching.
And
go ahead, Dan.
Hopefully we have a new logo next week.
Yeah, I mean that's just I don't even know what that is. My producers
Make a logo for us.
He's really good at Microsoft.
That's on the mic. That's messed up. All right. All right, cool. Well, that's all I got.